Got a little change out here. The homeowner was concerned that the return wasn't big enough, so I went upstairs. They got 3 returns upstairs. That's the whole house. There's a huge 30 by 9 hole through the subfloor right above here that goes to a fake situation under a closet. And this 16 by 10 carries 1,000 CFM. So that's more than enough for the little 40,000 furnace we're putting in here today. But I always look at the ductwork anyway. This is a 60,000 furnace right here. And they got these little 4-inch supplies in this house, and that's never good when you got those, because those only carry 35 CFM. And the 60,000 was going to want to see 1,000 CFM. So in that scenario, the return is plenty big, but we're actually short on the supply. Thank God for this one here, because we're getting rid of a lot of air. Whatever you do, don't close that. So we got 3 4-inch going that way and 3 4-inch going that way. And then I'm going to show you how I measured up the sheet metal for this one. Because we got this, typically when you're looking at sheet metal, you want a good top, from the top down drawing of how the return lines up with the supply. And we're going to cut this off up here and put a new offset and make it so the back of the return is flush with the back of the supply. And that's kind of how the return is going to work. So we want a good drawing of the front and from the top down in order to make sheet metal. You know, sheet metal is usually the hardest part of this. If you were a homeowner trying to attempt this, you'd want to make a good drawing and take it, you know, just Google sheet metal fabrication somewhere and find a guy that can make it. But that guy needs a good drawing. So we're going to get a drawing going here. So I'm going to show you how to measure up sheet metal on this job here and what I figured. Your furnaces come in typically 14, 17 and a half, and 21. And this particular job, I went with a 17-inch furnace. You're always going to want to try and line up one side in the back so you have 2 straight sides. It's easier to make sheet metal that way, and then work it out. You know, this particular job is offsetting 2 3/8 over to make our 6-inch throat for our cold air boot, which is going right there. So if you measure up here, you're going to need that 3.5-inch measurement. And we're going to take it apart up to here and make one transition from the top of that, which is a drive. We have slips and drives that connect our sheet metal. The S-slips keep it from telescoping, and the drives keep it from pulling apart. So if we measure up to that top of that drive right there on our supply, you got a concrete base under this. Probably put 3-inch rubber pads under that. So whatever your furnace height is, total height we have is 49. So we're going to draw our plenum right there to the floor is 49 inches. And that thing is 16 and a quarter. This is a front view now. I'm drawing it just like I'm looking at it. So 16 and a quarter. And then the depth will be the number after the X, which is 20. So we got our height to where we're going to make our furnace. I went with a 17.5-inch furnace, so that furnace is 17.5. We're keeping this side straight. That's going into a drive. You always got to write what your connection is so you know how to make the sheet metal. This one's going to be raw on top because it's slip and drive connection right there. Hopefully you can hear me. And I know our furnace is 35 inches tall. So, and then we're going to have rubber under here, about a 3/4 inch rubber pad, 35-inch furnace. And then we're going to flange in we got a 16 by 10 return over here. It's 10 on the front by 16 deep. And the other thing you're going to need is a top view to know how that aligns with that. We said this was 3 5/8 in between the cold air drop and the plumb. And then we need, I think I figured on cutting this about 8.5 inches. So the total height from where the furnace sits on this concrete slab up to there, I think it was 71 inches or something. So we need our total height to that concrete slab. And then 1 inch up into where we cut it off up here gives us our total height. And then you're going to need a transition because we got a cold air boot going on here that's 10 by 25 to 20 by 25. And I always use the big boot. There's no sense putting the too small of a filter is going to hurt you. Too big of a filter is not. So I just always use that boot. It's got a 6-inch throat here. So we need a transition that gets from that to 10 by 25. But the other thing is, if you look at the top view of this, we just said we were going to line up the back of the furnace square on this corner right here. So this is our supply, 16 1/4. This is looking from the top down now by 20. And then our 10 by 16, I know, is 12 3/4 forward from that. So this is the top view of our 16 by 10, and it's 3 5/8 in between because we just pulled that measurement down to here, and I know this measurement's 12 3/4. So you're going to need that drawing to take to your sheet metal fabricator. Just make sure you're not missing any measurements. This piece here is going to look like this. I always flange in on the sides, and it's going to be angled on that side. So we have, and we'll make this 20. So we know we have 3 straight sides. The front, the right side, and the back are going to be straight on the supply. You can't even see that. That's what I've been drawing. Oh my God. All right, then the rest of this job we got electrical PVC here. We got a 1-pipe system. I'm gonna tear that out. Just kind of look at everything before you get started. That hole is going to be used for the exhaust, which will be right here. And then we'll drill a new hole next to that one, which will be our intake coming down the side here to a T with a drain. You're always going to want to look at this low voltage. Some of them have air exchangers coming in here. This is an older house, pretty simple wiring. We just got the AC, which is typically a 2-wire coming in from the outside, and 4 wires going up to the thermostat. These Goodmans, usually you got terminals on the board. These old Goodmans just had wires that were wired to those terminals. Right there, you see your W, R, and G. Should be a C somewhere. Anyway, always look at your wiring before you pull it apart. We shut the breaker off already. The gas is right here. Make sure you shut the gas off. Across the pipe is off. Inline is on. All right, we're going to get her tore out. So there's 3 different types of connections really on the supply. Sometimes you got your coil button up to a furnace here, and if that's the case, I'm going to bend the flanges in on whatever's there, and then bend my flanges in on my new piece that goes between here and the furnace. Slip and drive connection is what typical ducts are connected with. So your drives look like this. They keep it from telescoping or pulling apart, and that just clips on that thing on both ends and slides on. And the S-slip keeps it from telescoping. It's just shaped like an S, and it keeps them from going too far together. This one, that's what we did on our plenum here. Remember in the drawing we made the furnace line up with that back corner, and we made it the same depth where it attaches to the furnace, so we have 3 straight sides now. You always want to keep as many sides straight as possible. And then we got our return offset 12 3/4 back here, and it's going back the difference there, just 3 inches or something. All right, we cut that boot in 1/2 inch up from the bottom. I had 3/4 inch pads figured for underneath it. So that's what I figured when I made my transition. All the lengths should work out with my fittings, but we're going to slide it in there and get a final measurement before we cut that thing off, just in case something's messed up. So I'm just double checking this measurement before we cut off this drop up here. I figure 6 1/4 from raw to raw on the canvas when I'm measuring. Here's my original drawing, and if you add up that 22 and the 6 1/4 and the 18 for this piece up here, it comes out to 46 1/4. Well, you lose 1 inch in each one of these joints here, so I got this all put together, and it's 44 1/4. So now I can hook on right here and go up on my drop to 44 1/4 and hack it off. But I gotta actually take 1 inch off of that, because we're gonna lose 1 inch in that joint up there. So I'm gonna go 43 1/4 from the bottom of this, which is the raw edge of this. So you can see we got a pretty big hole, 30 by 9 hole through the subfloor, and then there's that vacant cavity where they have 3. That big one there goes into a bedroom, and then we got one going into a hall, and another one over here that goes into that bedroom. Lots of return up there. She all went together good. Looks real good, except Al's head keeps hitting that thing. Beautiful. Very nice. And we'll just pop a hole, pull this tight, pop a hole for the electric, bring our 3 wires out of the furnace. These guys, neutral ground, hot to the switch. There goes Al's head again. Got our pipes in. I just drilled 2 new holes for those. The exhaust should be lined up straight with my exhaust hole here. I'll just offset around that gas there and come straight down. And then we should be able to go straight down into our T right here for the intake with our drain on the bottom. Because if you put it right here in the middle, you're going to have water dripping in through there in the middle of July for some reason in some houses. So you don't want to put it there. All right. Al's working on this gas pipe. We brought this nipple right here. Gets us to the perfect length where it lines up with that. But we're off this way, so we're going to elbow Put a union right here somewhere. Elbow, 18-inch piece union, and whatever nipple fits in there. Make sure you got towels underneath this purple primer. You don't want that stuff getting on the customer's things. Glue primer. Ugliness. I think I can make that line up. What we got here? 19 and a Just need to get one or two knife hangers in here to support that. Al's down to one nipple over there. Turned out good. Just set the gas pressure at 3.5, and the static pressure is really low. We got that cheapest filter you can get, that MERV 2. We got a 0.28 static here, total static. So we got our manometer in the blower compartment and above the heat exchanger to get total static. So, done deal. There's the venting.